All right, so we've heard from Susan a great deal, and I think a lot of these points have indeed been very insightful. So right now, it's a perfect opportunity for us to pick her brains. Who would like to start the ball rolling with the first question? Anyone? Please feel free, it's free. Yes, please.
Hi Susan, I am Cecilia. I work with the Singapore Red Cross. Thank you for sharing, and it's really very insightful. I would just want to perhaps bring up this discussion about don't look at volunteers as paid staff.
Right? You want me to say more about what that means, or are you agreeing with it, or what?
No. So I'm just going to ask, what are your thoughts about developing a job description for volunteers? Because actually, volunteers are kind of doing a staff job, right? So that job should have a job description. However, because volunteer comes in all shapes and sizes and time and commitment and all that, it may be an opportunity for us to then cut up that piece of job and offer it out. You know, micro-volunteering, which is also a buzzword in recent times. Yeah, so maybe the discussion.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm glad you're giving me a chance to clarify this. I am 100% in favor of written position descriptions. I would tell you, now we're talking English language, which is a different issue, but I don't like to say volunteer jobs because that becomes a confusion. A lot of people are threatened by volunteers as free job takers that will put paid people out of work, and I don't like to say that. So I prefer talking about volunteer roles, volunteer activities, volunteer positions, rather than a volunteer job. But I do believe in position descriptions. And if it's something that is going to require coming in once a week or doing something that is very much like paid staff does or alongside paid staff, I think you want the same things written out there because it gives you something to discuss with the new volunteer about what are they agreeing to? Are they willing to do this? It's a starting point for how you recruit somebody and all that. So I totally agree with that. However, as you said, not everything that volunteers do looks like a job. They do activities. And I'm saying that even with micro-volunteering kinds of activities, and I made a comment about them, like today, every organization needs volunteers who are willing to do a variety of social media outreach, right? We want them to tweet something that we're doing, or we want them to help advertise that there's an event coming up. Those are not, I don't call that a job anyway. I wouldn't pay somebody to do that necessarily. I mean, maybe you have a PR department, but you can have a one-paragraph description of, if you would like to sign on to be a retweeter for us, this is what it means. And you write it down. Because having taken the time to write it down, first of all, forces you to think about it. That's a really important thing, too. Secondly, it means, again, that you are more likely to clarify this activity in a similar way each time you describe it because it's there. And it gives you something to go back to with the volunteer. So I think it's really important. In some cases, it's instructions. You know, actually, that's what I think is important for single days of service. What you want to do if you have a group coming in once is you want to create something that describes the goal of the day. Okay, you write it out. We're asking you to come in because at the end of the day, this is what we want to have done. And then what you really need is a set of instruction sheets. Here are the steps we think will lead you to doing it successfully. Here's where the supplies are. Here's where this. That's not a job description, but it is certainly written materials that help people be successful. Does that resonate with you? Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Yes. Yes? Good.
Great, thank you.
Question for you on measuring impact. You talk about data and impact. What are your thoughts on actually converting them to actually monetary value? Because some people see dollars and cents and then value the volunteers. So what are your thoughts on it?
Okay, well, I don't think monetary value has anything whatsoever to do with impact, okay? Because you could tell me you could convert volunteer time into a minimum wage or whatever wage you want and say volunteers contributed this amount of money, the equivalent of this amount of money this year. Here's the problem. Maybe they wasted that amount of money this year. Do you see my point? It's like putting a value, a monetary value on a volunteer's time is an interesting exercise for those people who only value money. And I know they're out there. And I'm not saying never do it. But to me, it is a useless discussion when we talk about impact. Because just because it was worth a lot of money doesn't mean it accomplished anything. Sometimes the simplest act will have the greatest impact. It may not be something we would have paid $1,000 for or, whatever, but it's still something that really matters because no one has ever done it for this person before. So I think they are two different questions. I think when we talk about monetizing or figuring out the value of what the person gave, first of all, understand also, there are many mistakes we make. Let's say you have a doctor who's a volunteer for you. Now, if that doctor, a medical doctor, is doing medical care, you're providing free medical care, then you have every right in the world to say, this person is giving us what they normally are paid for, so we can put a value on that time-wise. But what if that doctor volunteers to do something as complete stress relief, and that doctor wants to put on a clown outfit and go help children that usually the doctor sees in the treatment room, but now wants to go and play with them? We can't count that at the doctor's salary. It's not the same job. It's different work. So suddenly now we have a question of, my bottom line on the money thing is, I know how important it is to people. I've written a lot about it. If you come to our website, you will find a lot of information about monetary value of volunteers, but it's not a measure of impact in my opinion. Do you want to argue that?
No.
I mean it. I mean, you may disagree with me. No? Okay. One more question? Yes? Okay, so now we have, all right, ladies, 2 men raise their hands. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. My name is Ridwan. I'm from the Singapore Anti-Narcotics Association. Thank you for your insightful presentation. Just a thought. I mean, within an organization, earlier you spoke about how we need to get the organization's buy-in in order for us to effectively engage with volunteers. However, within an organization itself, there could be departments or staff that are resistant to the idea of engaging volunteers simply because they do not feel that the volunteers can give quality work, or they feel that if they give work to a volunteer, they might actually need to spend more effort checking on the volunteers, making sure that they deliver quality work. So my question here is, how do we get their buy-in, or how do we convince them that getting volunteers on board is indeed efficient and really will help the organization moving forward? Thank you.
Well, first of all, you're 100% right in the situation you described. And it is the constant challenge of those of us in volunteer management to be advocates for volunteers. Because what you just described is prejudice. It's pure and simple prejudice. It's not based on really understanding who the volunteers are, unless you really have a bunch of good-for-nothings. But I've not met a lot of good-for-nothings in Singapore in my time there, okay? And I think that first of all, the person that has to be involved in this is the executive director. Someone has to say, why do you want these people here? Do you value them? Are we training paid? Remember, who are the people in your staff? Are they social workers or people like that? Who are what kinds of professions do you have in your agency?
We have social workers, counselors. We also have...
Okay, there are people who do counseling. I'm telling you, they never had 5 minutes on the subject of volunteers in their university training. I'm telling you that. Am I wrong? Anybody here have lots of training in volunteer management in school? No. So you've got highly educated people who don't even know how ignorant they are on this subject. Now, I'm not suggesting you go and say, hey, guys, you're ignorant. That wouldn't be a good way of handling it. But what you want to do is say, let's talk about this. For example, there's all kinds of training programs where you can say, what do you do as a volunteer? Get the person to understand that they themselves do something as a volunteer somewhere. Are they not competent when they do it? Do they leave their competency at their desk at the office when they go somewhere else? Also, introduce them. This is where reporting comes in. First, honesty. If you really are running a volunteer corps that's doing nothing, stop doing that, because you're wasting their time, and that's a sin. If I want to pay you to waste your time, if I pay you to sit at your desk and do nothing, that's on me. I ask you to come in and give me your time, and I don't have you doing something important, that's on you or on me that way. So make sure that they're doing something important, and then report it. Make sure people see it and understand it. It's a process. But don't accept those kinds of attitudes, because they really are not based on truth. They're based on false assumptions. So it's going to be self-evident that things aren't the way they expect, but you've got to kind of bring them together, have small group meetings, whatever it is. There's more to say in it, but not a lot of time on it. I do want to say, and I don't know if you can still see my screen here, but I do want to invite you to come and visit my website if you don't know about it. It's www.energizeinc.com. We're the largest free website in the world for leaders of volunteers. There's a whole online library, there's an online bookstore, there are information about conferences around the world. And you can sign up for an update every month from us. But the point is that it's a resource with a lot of this, and you particularly want to go to the A to Z Volunteer Management Library. You'll see it immediately on the screen when you go, and you can read more about it. And from my point of view, the last thing I want to say is thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk with you and the chance to get to know you a little bit. I hope it was helpful, and I'm sure the rest of your day is going to be good too. And I'm going to stop presenting and just get you to say goodbye.
All right, wonderful. Everyone, round of applause to Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Round of applause back to you.